Tonight on Oxygen Tango Live, a much anticipated interview with chef Nicole Smith. Coming up. Welcome back to Oxygen Tango Live. Megan, how are you?
I'm doing real well, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing well. Very excited about our interview. This has been a long time coming. I know that people have been clamoring for it. We have resolved our technical difficulties, so we will be bringing on Nicole Smith in just a couple of minutes. First, I want to make a couple of announcements. We're going Monday, Wednesday, and Friday now, so the next stream will be Monday, 8 p.m. Pacific time. You can watch the stream on YouTube or Facebook at the username Oxygen Tango, but if you'd like to join the chat, we recommend YouTube. That's where you can really get in there and mix it up. All the old episodes of the show are available on YouTube, and most of them are on Facebook too, if you want to go back and watch the ones you missed. To appear on the stream, please write connect@oxygentango.com. We're interested in hearing from tango dancers of any level all over the world, so please don't hesitate. Without further ado, we're bringing on Nicole Smith. Here she is on the stream. Nicole, how are you?
Hi, Dave. Hi, Megan.
Hey, Nicole.
Appreciate the outfit of the day. That's not a coincidence, is it, Nicole?
Last stream I overheard Megan saying that red was the week, so I was trying to figure out if I had anything red because I'm all about blue and I only have one red shirt, so might as well make it work.
And I don't know if the people in the chat will agree with me, but I think red is really Nicole's color, so I cannot believe she only has one red shirt. It's a travesty.
So blue's your favorite color, Nicole?
Mm-hmm.
I see.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know who you are, maybe you could just give us. Why don't we start with your tango life to start? How long have you been dancing? Where are you in your tango career right now?
Okay, so to everyone that doesn't know me, hi, my name is Nicole. I started tango for a couple of years now. I found Dave and Megan back in 2017. I think it was around December, where they were on La Brea in Manchester before they moved into the Inglewood space they are in now. And I think 2018, I just kind of bounced around to a couple classes back and forth, but nothing really consistent. And it wasn't until I was looking for some part-time work and I ran across Oxygen Tango on Craigslist. And they were looking for a tango bear. So that's why you always see me at the front desk asking you guys to sign in, all your information. So that's how I hooked up. So I would say didn't really get more into it until about October of 2018. And then it really took off after I did the Tango Challenge.
Got it.
So I did the Tango Challenge January 2019. With Tango Migos. If anyone from Tango Migos is in the audience, hi.
What up, Tango Migos?
So.
And then maybe just give us an idea of your life outside of tango.
Outside of tango, I'm a chef. I've been doing this for 10 years, despite my face. Let's see. I did culinary school at Art Institute. Right after high school, so I went straight into it for 3 years. And during that time, I just been traveling over the world and studying overseas, just trying to become better. So that's my life as a chef. Right now, I work for a few staffing agencies, and right now they're really affected, like everyone else in the restaurant industry is deeply affected by COVID-19. So right now I'm just chilling out and kind of relaxing. So I have a not not so much worried, if that makes sense.
Hmm. And you mentioned you traveled all over the world. Where were you primarily going to?
So with my school, our institute, with my class, I went to Germany, and during that time we also visited Belgium and Luxembourg. And then on my own, through a mutual friend, I've been to Italy twice, Florence, Italy twice. I've been to Lyon, France to study. And then just for fun, because I also have another friend who used to work for Disney, and we took a special birthday cruise to the Yucatan Peninsula.
Oh, cool.
Where's that?
Mexico.
Neat.
And
But yeah, go on. Sorry.
So you mentioned you'd spend and you would study the cuisine of all these places that you're visiting. Got it. And
Yes.
Do you have a favorite or?
So far, Italy is pretty much my favorite. I thought I would like France. I would like to explore a little bit more. And the places I go to is not so much you go to the city center. You go to more of the countryside, more of the rural places. So you get to have more a hands-on look at the local cuisine, what the local people eat, and what's on their dinner table. So.
Got it. Nice.
Yeah.
What do you like about it? Why Italy? Why Italian?
Gelato.
Got it.
Yeah, pretty much everywhere I went, it was like I have to have gelato. Like I can't have anything else.
And what's the difference between gelato and ice cream? I always forget.
It's been a while. I think it has to deal with milk fat content, and you kind of have a more like creamier consistency. What I did notice, like between France and Italy, that France focuses more on sorbet. So you don't really see ice cream. You'll do sorbet, and they'll do cassis, which is black currants, I believe so. Which is also good, but I rather do gelato over sorbet.
Are you an ice cream maker? Is that in your repertoire, or gelato?
I have not made gelato yet, but I have made ice cream. But and I do have an ice cream maker, but it's not something I do like totally often. So I have to add that more to the list of things to practice on.
Have you been cooking a lot, just personally at home over the last few weeks?
I have actually. For those who have an Instagram account, I do have an Instagram account. Had it for some time. You can follow me under The Traveling Chef. It's all one word, lowercase. The Traveling Chef.
Okay, I will put that up on the stream.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
What are you cooking these days, Nicole? What do you find that your cooking habits have changed? Doing shelter at home, or no, or what differences do you notice?
No, not too much difference. I always want to bring something new to my house, but everything in how to say this? My mom thinks everything I bring home is weird, so she won't really eat it. So like yesterday, there was a YouTuber I like, and she did chicken lettuce wraps. So aside from the sauces, I ended up using tofu because I just didn't feel like having meat that day. So I used the tofu, and I crumbled up the tofu, and then add the sauces, and the toppings was just sliced bell peppers and carrots, just make it really nice, fresh and clean. And I ended up using cabbage leaves instead of the lettuce leaves because that's what we have. And I don't really trust lettuce right now, especially with what's going on. So, and just trying to use what we have. So, she fussed at me this morning because she didn't know it was tofu. That's what usually happens a lot. But I try to shake things up because they're getting older, but they have like a certain routine. So usually I try to like kind of sneak in and commandeer, like, no, I'm going to make dinner and everything. But they know that I work hard, and most of the time I would just be working, so I never really got a chance to. But a lot of times I end up trying. It's almost. Have you seen Chopped
Yes.
on Food Network? Yeah, that's basically my pantry. Is Chopped is like what it is, and it's always finding ways to repurpose leftovers. So,
that's a very useful skill.
Yeah, so I figure like it'll get useful someday. But that's pretty much every day. So, but today, it'll be for tomorrow. I prepared dough to make cinnamon rolls, so I'll bake those off in the morning.
Oh, cinnamon rolls.
We have some people weighing into the chat. Ann
Okay.
Har says, I'm in quarantine. All I have is sweet green flavored vegan frozen yogurt. So sounds like she could use some advice. Amy Sachin chimes in, no meat solidarity. Amy
Okay.
says she...
Well, Anne is actually watching the stream with her chicken, so Ethel was really excited to learn that was tofu in those lettuce wraps.
Okay, I didn't know what that meant. Gotcha. All right. And Amy says, hi, I am a Nicole fan. Nicole is living the dream, and then asks, what are some good things to pack for lunch these days?
I just ask her if is it just to like the office, or is it a picnic? Like, what's your venue?
Okay.
I think it's bringing the lunch to office.
I guess you can't go wrong with the salad, but it's really important to incorporate a lot of colors in your salad.
Why?
Yeah. Huh?
Why?
You eat with your eyes, and it's just vibrant, and it's just also very nutritious. So like today I did a big salad because we still had some leftovers, but I had some mini sweet bell peppers I had on hand that I sliced up. I had some mixed greens. I had dried cranberries on the side, and some diced tomatoes. What else I put in? Some carrots. And you just kind of build on that. But I think people kind of forget that, there's so many colorful fruits and vegetables you can add to liven things up. So, whatever, let's say you go out to a restaurant, like whatever you think about what your dishes at a restaurant is like, you can recreate that at home, and I think also too, you can kind of work with your knife cuts with different shapes, and that also kind of brings a different dimension to your food as well. So I would do that. It's kind of hard because there are times where if I'm working, and a lot of times chefs mostly just graze for the entire day.
Never have a
Because
proper
you're just
meal.
so you're just so big. Yeah, you're just so busy. So a lot of times, places I worked in, like all I would have was just salad, but I would just chock it with full of vegetables and everything. So
Okay, well, Amy says it is for office and field, but she has been staying away from raw salad. We have we have a couple other requests. Tango Bangers, who I believe is Kristen, says drop that banana bread recipe. And Ann Hars,
You didn't know we were going to put you to work on this stream, Nicole.
I'm always at work.
and Ann Hars is looking for mustard greens recipes. So the requests are pouring in.
I want to know, Nicole, what would you do with mustard greens? What's the best thing to do with them?
The simplest thing, like treat them like spinach. You can take some oil, and I'll take a large skillet, and I will take some olive oil. Start with a cold pan. I know it's different directions compared to, yes, you want to start with a hot pan, hot oil, and get it. But this one, start with a cold pan, add a little bit of olive oil, and I would do a little bit of chili flake and some sliced garlic, and slowly heat that up so you kind of have like this chili garlic oil kind of thing going up. And then you can saute your mustard greens and just
Wait. So you heat up the oil. You put the chili flakes and the garlic cold into the cold oil, and then heat those up, and then add the mustard greens once it's all heated.
Yes.
All right.
And saute them like you would do spinach, and of course they're going to go for just a slightly little bit longer, and just add a little bit of water to kind of steam it, then cover it, so that way you kind of steam it. So sometimes that's what I do simply with greens, and that's just like the easiest way. So that way you're not totally boiling them. A lot of times, like collard greens and mustard greens, turnip greens, we know we just boiled them, but that's like a quick, easy way to do it. So that way your greens can stay tender and you still have a nice color to them.
Why is Kristen so interested in your banana bread recipe?
I don't know. I know she's following me on Instagram, so now I got to look up which recipe I did, because a lot of times I'll find a recipe and then I'm just doing variations of whatever I happen to have in my house for that. And it's funny because I can't eat bananas, but I do make amazing banana bread.
Cinnamon rolls, banana bread. We've got our store-bought cookies over here. I did make some cookies the other day. Dave said that they were good.
They were very good.
Okay.
Megan, what about you should tell Nicole about the garlic soup you made today.
Oh.
Okay, so I found this recipe. I think it was one time when Dave was sick, and it was called 44 clove garlic soup. It is very labor intensive. There's literally 44 cloves of garlic in each batch, but I made 3 batches. So, and then you have to peel 26 of the 44 cloves, and then you roast the other 18 in its skin. So, yeah, I had to peel. How much is 44 times 3, Dave?
I think 132.
132 cloves of garlic.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you add cream, and you roast it all together, and then you puree it. Yeah.
Do you approve this recipe, really Nicole?
It's my first time hearing it, but I see that you're here, so obviously it worked and made you better.
I have to say it is good. My mom was always a big believer in the healing properties of garlic, and I would have to say I agree. This is a good way to get your garlic. It tastes good. I'm also a big fan of, if you are feeling sick, almost eating garlic like an apple is definitely not going to be pleasant, but I do feel it really just it ignites all your pores and really cleans you out. I'm a big fan of garlic, healing properties of garlic.
Cleans you out.
Tango Bangers says she's asking about the banana bread recipe because there's so much banana bread being baked on Instagram and figured you would have a fire recipe. Amy says garlic has a pH of 13.2 and coronavirus has a pH between 5.5 to 8.5.
Well, thank goodness I stocked up on 44 clove garlic soup.
So I wanted to ask you, Nicole, and I'm sure we will come back to cooking, but one of the things we've been trying to do is have people on sort of at different stages of their tango career. We've had some 5-year people on, some 10-year people on, some 15-year people on. I'm really especially interested in hearing from people between 1 and 2 years. I guess you're right around 2 years now, like yourself. Partly just for anyone that might be thinking about getting into tango, have some idea maybe of what's coming up, what are some of the challenges, or someone that is kind of on the same track as you are, maybe to hear. Maybe he's going through some of the same things that you are, but also just to remind some of us that have been around longer, 5, 10, 15 years, remind us really what it's like at that stage. What are you what are you struggling with? What do you find most difficult? What is the experience of just 2 years into your career? What are your impressions of tango so far?
Okay. So, personally, I feel like I cheated because I have previous dance experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been dancing since I was about 6, 7 years old, and I've done ballet, tap, jazz, hip hop, modern, African, pretty much you name it. So I've done that pretty much for like 8 to 9 years. So elementary, middle school, all the way up to my senior year of high school before going to culinary school. And of course, when I got into tango, I think I like how Megan put it in a different interview before, like, you join tango when you kind of get beat up a little bit. And it's like, yeah, I kind of was feeling that. But I was trying to get back into dance because had some very difficult health challenges for the last 6 years. And that kind of also slightly hindered my culinary career as well, at least the path that I had imagined for myself. So I have been taking dance classes, just different types, just trying to get in shape because that was something I loved, and didn't know if I could do both between the cooking and the dancing. It was like something I really loved, and then when I did this new thing, I gave it up, and I was really missing it. So by the time Tango came around, I actually found you guys on Facebook through a Facebook ad. And I just casually talked about my sister, and she really pushed me to do it because I was really going to back out of it. But going through it, and at first I was really just trying to find a dance that didn't exhaust me so much. Because other dances were so very intense, and I used to dance very intensely. And so far, I was like, okay, I'm not getting dizzy, I'm not getting short of breath. I can probably do this. That's probably why you guys are only seeing me like off and on, off and on, off and on. But I've gotten better in health. When I did the challenge, I was open. It was nice to have another student who also had previous dance, and she was going through struggles. So I was like, okay, at least have someone I can relate to. I did see those that were just like, oh, I just want to try this one little thing. And during the challenge, everything was fine, but then it was starting to really stir up a lot of stuff. And then that's when I realized, oh, I'm going back to where I left off. So
wait, what do you mean? What do you mean stir up a lot of stuff?
Because what do you imagine when you're a kid? Like, I wanted to be a dancer, and part of me still wants to be a dancer. And there was a lot of resentment during that time between my teachers, and just me going through a lot of changes, and me giving up in something that I love, and then pretty much almost have to forego it because I was having some physical challenges. So thankfully, before I took the challenge, I for Christmas I got like a Secret Santa gift in a notebook. It was a little tiny notebook. My pink notebook, if anyone sees it, and then I had a tango, like, best 100 song tango CD.
Oh, this was you're talking about the Oxygen White Elephant.
Yeah, so that came in there, and that kind of like was like, okay, this is a good sign. So now I feel like as my head still explodes. Whenever I take Dave's class, it does. It still explodes. It's not exploding as much, but I'm still learning a lot. But it did feel like, okay, I can be around this particular family. But as far as me having like dancer aspirations, it really wasn't until I went to the Southern California Tango Festival last year, and I saw the kind of level that the dancers were going. I didn't know, like, I really had no knowledge of tango at all. The intensity of it. And there was a little part of me that said, I think I can do this. I think I can do this. So there's a little voice in the back of my head that thinks like, I think I can do competitions. Like, I kind of see that for myself. And that was something that I used to do as a kid.
Got it.
Yeah.
Hey, so just say pass if it's too personal. I want to know more about this. So when you originally got out of dance the first time, it seemed like you came to odds with some teachers that had expectations that were different from yours. It was physically something that was becoming more difficult, and it just felt like something that you couldn't stay in.
Well,
and
it was
yeah, please clarify.
Sure. It was like by the time you were like 12, my teacher was starting to groom a lot of her students for summer intensives, and two of the major African American ballet companies were Alvin Ailey and Dance Theater of Harlem in New York, and anywhere else, ABT, American Ballet Theater. So grooming for summer intensives. So it got to a point where it was one thing to groom your students for that type of level of training, but and then it became very cliquish because I wasn't like the other girls. You know, I'm kind of like very spacey and everything, but it just felt like I've done auditions, I didn't get in, and of course you get kind of sore, you know, hurt a little bit, but you know, you try again. But it just felt like the attention that and level of training that I would get when I first started dance with this ballet studio, and we were very top notch. There were just a lot of background changes, and then some of my teachers were starting to take their personal life and place it on the student, and then place it on me. So that was, and then I also had some. Now I'm understanding as an adult, having some push and pull when I wanted to leave the studio that I was in for another instructor. But then I found out that it was very not so great bond. So it was a very interesting time. So by the time I got to high school, like 12th grade, it was like, it wasn't like so much quitting dance, but I had to quit that teacher because it was like, you're not the same anymore. You're just not the same anymore. And then, of course, I thought maybe I can do school for dance. And there were other teachers that wouldn't really help me or at least guide me to it. They'll just say, oh, that's so hard. And I know that my technique it was still strong, but not as strong as the girls to pay attention to. So after a while, I was just like, I'm done.
Got it.
But as far as like dance, I still like movement, and I like all different forms of dance. So I was trying like different other avenues that wasn't just ballet and tap. I was trying to hip hop. I even tried Tahitian, and I even tried a ballroom studio before I came to you guys for salsa and practica. But bachata feels like so much bump and grind that it doesn't really feel like bachata at all. So it's just like, not my thing. And
I remember in that first tango class in Inglewood, I was telling you had to get the salsa out of your hips. I couldn't get you to stop moving, disassociating your hips from your upper body. You had the cha-cha hips. I just remembered that. I'd forgotten about that.
It's really hard, okay? It's
yes,
really hard.
And I imagine.
I think that experience. I think a lot of people have a similar experience. Maybe coming to tango as adults. A lot of us did more movement as a kid, whether it was some kind of dance or, in my case, it was mostly sports. And then maybe after high school or after college, you sort of think, well, that's over now. I mean, maybe I'll go to the gym, I'll go jogging, but I'm sort of into my adult life, and I'm not going to be doing so much kind of concentrated movement study. And then people come to tango and realize, oh, this is actually you can still learn things over the age of 25, and you can still study dance and take it seriously, and yeah, probably, and then it does kind of put you back in touch with whoever you were when 10 years ago when you were doing that stuff. I think a lot of people have the same experience in tango. I'm curious what have been your biggest struggles and frustrations trying to learn tango? Maybe they've changed over the last couple of years, but what have you found the biggest sticking points?
Well, I know for myself, and I need to be better about this now that we're quarantined, to practice a little bit more at home. If I don't remember everything from class, at least practice the drills that I learned, some of those fundamentals. Those are important. Let's see. I know that for me, and I started leading to, I'm telling this for those that don't know me, I started leading as soon as I pretty much started tango. Like, pretty much day one, I started leading instead of following. One, a little bit of control freak, just a little bit, but there's just, I hear the music and I'm like, oh, this will be like a really cool move. So part of me feels like maybe if I learn leading, then I can do those things with someone else. I think right now it's just working on really listening to my partner. And like, because I know you and Megan really had to work on my arms quite a bit. Because I felt like I had to, pick up the person, like, you will come here. And
ooh, is that hand sanitizer?
Yes. So
well, that's the secret ingredient in your banana bread.
Oh God. God no. I think and also just being patient, because I think what I have noticed, and with some people I dance with, and dance, so far, if I'm leading someone, of course they're female. It's like it's almost like they're so passive that it's kind of like move, and I don't want to do anything that makes me feel like I'm forcing you to go into that direction. But I also notice that, and I think either Franco Delano Level or Johnny or both kind of said some things on this line, but it just feels like people are doing steps to music, and yes, you might have the embrace connection because you're holding somebody, but it's but the music does tell you what to do, and you're just doing steps that you learn, and there's just no connection. There's just nothing. You're just moving
to the music.
So yeah, and some people they'll see me kind of like daydream, but I'm actually watching. I'm actually watching you dance instead of daydreaming. But it's either that or I'm hungry. That's so. But I'm actually watching you, and I'm seeing, who's dancing on beat, who might be dancing to the piano, who might be dancing to violin, I guess, who's dancing to the bandoneon, just seeing who's picking whatever notes or whatever phrasing. Maybe someone's dancing to the lyrics. doing that. And I noticed like very few people will dance to a certain instrument or even during a certain lyric they'll actually listen to. A lot just move and it gets on my nerves.
So you really appreciate like good, strong musicality.
Yes. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Like I have noticed, and I would get this compliment too, and I had to tell myself like, it's not an insult. They're actually trying to compliment you, but people say, "Oh my God, you're so rhythmic, you're so musical," and I'm like, "What do you mean by that?" But
How are you taking it?
yeah, but I was like, no, I had to tell myself like, no, they're trying to connect. It's okay, they're trying to connect. But yeah, I have noticed people really don't have musicality. It wasn't until I took Claudia's class on musicality, and I think we danced to Mala Kunta, and I only know that because I have that saved on my YouTube because I like that song. So when she played it, I was like, it was a different orchestra, but I was like, finally a song I actually know in the title because I still don't know. But she said first she danced, and then she said go dance, and then we all danced, and then she turned off the music, and she's like, why are you guys doing such big movements to the music? It kind of gives you like and you're doing like big ochos, and I think one of the students said like, aren't we supposed to go and feel the music, like it's our interpretation? And she goes, when I'm here it's my interpretation, when I'm not here then it's yours. So I was like, okay. So after that class, then I start looking at the tango videos a little bit differently and seeing how they dance, and maybe see the same song but two different set or three different sets of dancers and seeing how they dance. And no matter what steps they do, but they still use the music, still tells them what to do, how to interpret, all that.
And was go ahead, Megan. Sorry.
No. I was just taking a big breath, taking that all in.
Oh. Nicole, was tango music for you? Was it when you started out? Was it, oh, this is great, I love this music? Was it, this is a little strange, but after a year I kind of came to appreciate it? Where do you stand on tango music?
I'm understanding a little bit more. I'm not gonna lie, everyone pretty much has the same consistency. Like, what is this? And that's what I heard. And I think it wasn't like I heard the tango music. I mean, the songs. I heard the waltz. It wasn't until I heard the milonga, and I was like, you can't have rhythms like that in milonga and then have some corny song right here. Like, no, this is just not happening. So, right now, I think if I'm getting used to hearing the old guard, to a certain decade. I think if I go like early 30s and deep, it really sounds like a fly that's dying. So I'm sorry, Canaro. I'm sorry. I know he's the grand poobah, but I can't.
Shots fired at Canaro on Oxygen Tango Live.
Also, they're taking shots in the chat, so it's just getting out of control.
Oh my God! I have to see this chat later. I know they're probably like, "Oh, you're such a noob. What? Oh, you know nothing."
I think it's really important, for the tango community to have some perspective on this. We've all been listening to all these songs for so long that some of us can't really imagine even it any other way, or dancing to any other songs, that we might lose track for what it looks like to someone coming for the first time.
Do you mind if I continue?
Oh, please. Sorry. Yes.
No, sure, I understand. But when I heard milonga music, and I was hearing the beats in it, so I was hearing that, and I was just like, no, you can't have those rhythms. So I think I remember telling Dave, and this is what happens when you have insomnia at 3 a.m. You look up Latin history and Argentina history, and then that's when I took a really deep dive into the history of it. So that's where I looked up the candombe, and coming from Uruguay first and Paraguay, and then making its way over to Argentina. And then you have the Spanish team, the habanera. So then all of a sudden, that almost took me to flamenco music. And I was like, nope, let's come back. But now I have that. Let's come back. But now I know where that's rhythms are coming from. And then I was looking at, of course, the historic part of it. You have African slaves, a lot of them came from Angola, coming over and bringing those types of dancing into this, the Spanish sphere. And then you start having a lot of wars and a lot of Afro-Latinos pretty much being massacred and wiped off much later. And then those their women assimilating into what would be considered the white society, and then you kind of have this blend. And then I'm starting learning about the German immigrants and the Italian immigrants, because I want to understand these instruments that are being used. Because I'm like, you're jamming down to an accordion, to a bandion. I'm like, that's a very unique instrument to use. So it just is. It just is. But, it just is. And then as far as the composers, and then I'm looking all of them up, and even though, yes, they're Argentinian, but they're kind of the white persuasion. So it's like, okay, I need to find where the Afro-Argentinas are. And that's when I started looking up some of the writers like La Comparsita and Cara Sucia and many others. And of course, that almost took me to almost folk. And I was like, no, let's come back. So it's been really fascinating. And for me, I had to find out the origin. I really did have to find out the origin of it all. And it's a very unique blend that I think can possibly get misunderstood. So I think I think I've heard this from older tango dancers on this live stream. I guess when they are talking about the milongas being stuffy, and that's just me needing to go out a little bit more to all these milongas. So far, just been sticking with Austin Tango, only been to a few. The last one I enjoyed was at LAX for their Tango Marathon. That one was fun. Really good dancers. So, but it's just interesting. I met a couple people that try to have like this persona, like, oh, look at me, I'm Marco, and and it's like, dude, you're from dude, you're from New Mexico. Like, take it down. So I get that people just want to have a place, but I think that whatever this romanticized vision they have, like, oh, I always wanted to be like in, back in the 30s. I'm like, well, that comes with a lot of other stuff too. You better learn to appreciate that too. So, and then I'll watch, once in a while, I'll watch a couple mini documentaries. Like there's a mini documentary on Chicho that I saved, and then there was one, hope I can find it, but I only saw a clip of it, and it helped me understand the music, the meaning behind it, that this guy was saying there's a lot of sadness in tango, because people say, oh, it's beautiful, but it's beautifully sad. It's kind of beautifully tragic music. So you have like the sadness of the slaves, you have the sadness of the immigrants, you have the sadness of the 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 workers going through whatever they're going through, and all of that gets melded into the music.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's so when I'm zoning out, like when I have this, yeah, I'm either
That's
watching
what's
it.
going on in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of going on. I know everyone's like, "Oh, she's so shy, she's so quiet." I'm watching, I'm observing, I'm taking it in. Orange is hungry, and I'm tired and ready to eat.
We have a question in the chat because Kristen wants to know if you're talking about a specific Marco. Like, was the name Marco just pulled out of the hat, or you're talking about a specific person?
Maybe we should.
Let's just say that there is, or I can just say there's a Tony.
I see. The Marco is Tony.
We can say that for now. Because we don't know where this is going.
I see.
Ivan Lopez. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to clear up. I'm pretty sure it's not the Marco that we're both thinking of. He's a very nice guy, so I just want to clear that up for the stream.
Okay.
Ivan Lopez chimes in. Nicole, I like your DJing. A reference, of course, to DJ Saucy. You've been DJing now for a few months, right?
Yes, and I'm so sorry for the technical difficulties.
It's part of the game.
My fault.
So yeah, it's interesting that you both were like, "Hey, doing DJing," and I'm like, at that time I was like, "But I'm not cool enough." But it's I was gonna say fun, but I had to think about that. It's fun when it's done. It's fun when it's done, but it and I'll get advice from Megan. I think Ottershirt gave me a few pointers that was really helpful. But I found myself like listening to a lot of music, like from beginning to end. So the process, I hope that it becomes a little bit easier trying to get to know the songs. But also kind of forced me to listen to composers and listen to songs that I personally don't care for. So in those instances, if it's a song, like, for example, Cara Sucia, like, not my fave, but I will look on YouTube and see there's a dance to it and see how a pro approaches the song. And then it's like, okay, maybe I can grow to like this. Or maybe I may not like a certain composer's arrangement, but it might be mean to another person. So
I always thought it was so interesting to me. I always thought your DJing was so interesting and good, because I actually like it that you haven't been out to a ton of milongas and have some idea about what you're supposed to be playing or what's off limits. I just think it leads to really interesting choices. And then, of course, I actually didn't know that. I mean, you have a ton of like history and research into these song choices. I just think it really shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I was always thinking, what kind of music would like to hear? Because even if we're going in class, and I know we have certain types of songs that we have in class for the instruction of class, but there are some songs in the class where I'm like, I'm just not feeling it, but I'm learning to understand it, to appreciate it a little bit. So yeah, that's pretty much where I am music wise. Have I touched any of the DJing thing? Not yet. Just been kind of chilling, but hopefully it'll be nice to do alternative a little bit later. At least try that playlist out. It was just that for my first time DJing, I didn't want to go straight into alternative. I just felt like I need to understand this music a little bit better before I bring in whatever music I like into it. So that's why I've been focusing.
As a dancer, do you have a preference? Traditional, alternative?
I like both. Yeah, both has its place.
Mm-hmm.
Both have its place. Yeah, it's just my thing is pretty much, is it danceable? And just trying it out and seeing if you can do any dance to it. I think it's just funny when people say like, oh, there's no rhythm here, or I can't find it. And it's like, there's always certain rhythm. You just kind of have to be still and really hear it and then lead on. So.
Dave, we're almost out of time, but there's one thing that I have to talk to Nicole about before we go.
Okay. Yeah, I saw your list on the last stream. I was very nervous. I was like, how much of my Facebook did you look at?
Lucky for you, we didn't get into most of my questions, which I found from doing an extremely deep dive on your Facebook page. But one thing that I need to know, and it came up in one of our very first live shows, there was this discussion, this debate about I think somebody was thinking about contacting one of their exes. I think it was Franco Jonanuevo said he was like tempted to call up an ex-girlfriend during this time. You posted about it that day. You said in the chat that it was a bad idea. Then you posted on Facebook that it was a bad idea. And I think you posted about it again several days later that it was a bad idea. So yeah, I have to hear more about this, and I feel like there's a good story there.
I was helping a certain someone in the chat to not do that. I'm looking at you, Shashin. So, like, no. Although part of me is like, do I have anything to say? Because it's been a while since I've dated. Like, it's been a while. My ex, first boyfriend, he's already married to whomever. He has his life. And another one probably has a bunch of kids. So, dodged 2 bullets. One moved to Sacramento after a date, but he's where he needs to be, and he's flourishing. So, no, I just think that like I said, there's still some areas that I need to grow in and do a little bit better, especially in that department. But I just feel like, especially just for this time, it's like, are you doing this because maybe you have some feelings for that person, and maybe there was a moment where you're like, I really saw myself with this person. Maybe I could try again. But if you're just doing that because you're like, I feel lonely, I'm like, that's not a good reason for you to accept that, because we can be moving through this thing, and then what happens after? All that bonding you did, will it flourish to going to a new relationship, or was it just, I just needed a body to stare at for a while? And that's not cool. That's not cool for the other person, and that's not cool for you, because it just kind of blocks you from other good things to happen.
Right.
So like it.
I'm convinced. I'm sold. I will never advise anybody to contact their ex ever again.
I hope Sachina's listening
pandemic or no.
Yeah. It's just, like I said, it's still area I need to work on that department, but because a lot of times if I get hit on, they find out my profession, and then they think they're going to get free food, and it's like, this is not. So, yeah.
Don't date Nicole for the free food, people. It's not going to work.
No, will not work. No.
Well, Nicole, I have to say that, so typically during the interviews, I just write down little quotables that stand out to me, and I took by far the most from you. You were a font of wisdom. So I guess just to wrap up, what if anything do you miss about tango, and what if anything do you hope is different about the world, tango or otherwise, when this thing's over?
Well, of course, I miss the people, the hub that we're all in. But as far as like missing the dance itself, um, I know it's gonna come back to me. Um, and I've already been through missing dance in itself as an art form. Like I already know how that feels like, and I'm super grateful that I've been able to have that back into my life again, and just come into in a different format than what I have imagined. As far as the tango world, I wouldn't be surprised if we become closer after this. Hopefully, no one like hugs each other for like over 5 minutes just because they haven't had that contact. But I think like don't do that.
Shots fired at the long hug. Take note, people.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't scare people
Get
away.
a room.
But I think whether you are a dancer with background or grew into that intensely, or you're a social dancer, just don't be afraid to dance. And also don't be afraid of rhythm. Just don't be afraid of rhythm. I think too many people get apprehensive, and it's just something that you just have to practice. But that also means you have to do a lot of listening. You have to do a lot of listening to the music. You have to do a lot of listening to your partner. And that's something I have to work on as far as like trusting my partner to do certain moves, or at least whatever I see in my head. But I think that's just people just really taking the time to listen. I think that's probably, I'm guessing, but I think that's probably where the emotional connection comes in, because you are actively listening to your partner in a non-verbal communicative way, not so much the touching part, but that's the part that needs to be more focused on.
Well, thank you so much, Nicole.
Thank
we
you.
Covered every topic under the sun. It's always a joy to get to talk to you. I miss you a bunch. Can't wait till we get to hang out again.
Yes.
What do you think, Dave?
Well, we have in the chat, Amy So says, loved hearing from our Tango Amigo, Nicole. I would tend to agree. That was a real treat. And yeah, to get to see everything that's going on under the hood there, I think is a revelation for all of us. So thank you so much. Hopefully we can have you back on again soon.
Oh, great.
So we can get to the rest of Megan's questions. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Nice
have a great night. We'll see you Monday night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.